U.S. Air Force has repeatedly proven that they are the masters of the sky. Their air fleet has a lot of advanced technology, which opponents can only dream of so far. But which planes are the coolest in their arsenal? And will China be able to compete with the U.S. Air Force in the foreseeable future? Find out in today's video. Let's start with perhaps one of the most promising programs in the entire history of the U.S. Air Force's existence. We are talking about next-generation air dominance, in which this branch of the military is preparing to provide Uncle Sam with about 200 of the latest sixth-generation fighters, worth several $100 million each. At least that's how Secretary of the Air Force Frank Kendall described their price. Development of the program began in 2014, and a year later, DARPA launched the Aerospace Innovation Initiative to create X-plane prototypes to demonstrate potential technologies for future fighters. NGAD is referred to as a family of systems because of its complexity. After all, the program is not limited to the sixth-generation aircraft FX or penetrating counter-air. Another important element is the add-on Collaborative Combat Aircraft, or CCA, also known as Loyal Wingman, the latest drone that expands the functionality of the aircraft and provides it with constant support on the battlefield. Additionally, the U.S. Air Force's grand vision includes work on powerful weapons for NGAD fighters, such as hypersonic missiles, sensors, improved avionics, the introduction of artificial intelligence, networking, and battle management suites, as well as advanced adaptive cycle engines. The latter are being developed through the Adaptive Engine Transition Program, or AETP, and Next Generation Adaptive Propulsion, or NGAP, promising to deliver the first fight-ready engines as early as 2025. As for the FX fighter itself, so far almost all statements by representatives of the Air Force are talking about 2030-2031. According to the head of Air Combat Command, General Mark D. Kelly, China's plans for the sixth generation of fighters are in many ways similar to the United States. Chinese specialists pay the majority of their attention to the use of artificial intelligence to control fighter systems and provide direct assistance to the pilot in emergency situations. Regularly improve software and avionics, integrate all air platforms into a single digital hub, and use swarming drones. China has already demonstrated the first renderings and mock-ups of its future stealth tailless fighters several times during air shows and videos from the Aviation Industry Corporation of China. At the same time, we're unlikely to hear any specifics about the characteristics of the future device in the next couple of years. Also, in 2031, the U.S. Air Force plans to abandon another member of our list, the legendary F-22 Raptor, which is preparing to go on a well-deserved aviation retirement. This American twin-engine stealth fighter has become not only an essential component of U.S. Air Force tactical aviation, but also the benchmark of the fifth generation of fighters around the world. This also makes it one of the most desirable acquisitions for U.S. allies. However, due to U.S. federal law, the Raptor was banned from export to protect its stealth technology and classified characteristics. The F-22 and its subsystems were designed to be upgraded regularly throughout their life cycle. Among the updates, it's worth noting the integration of new families of ammunition, such as the Joint Direct Attack Munition, or JDAM, Small Diameter Bomb, or SDB, Short-Range Air-to-Air Missiles, AIM-9X, and Medium-Range AIM-120D. The installation of an improved AN radar, APG-77V1, as well as numerous updates to the software and aviations of the device through the introduction of the Automatic Ground Collision Avoidance System, or AGCAS, in 2016, and the Multifunctional Information Distribution System Joint Tactical Radio System, or MIDS-JTRS, in 2021. Some upgrades are still being developed and their funding has been extended until 2031. These include new sensors and antennas, advanced infrared search and track, or AIR-ST, and a tougher chrome-like finish that improves the Raptor's stealth performance. In 2022, the Raptor celebrated its 25 years in the air anniversary with a look back at its first flight in September of 1997. And although the service has repeatedly raised the issue of decommissioning these reptiles, the aircraft turned out to be too good to be abandoned, at least until the introduction of NGAD. Furthermore, as practice suggests, the F-22 does an excellent job with spy balloons, given recent news about the Chinese balloon. Its younger brother, the F-35 Lightning II, although designed for a completely different purpose, quickly became a rock star in the stealth fighter line. And in 2022, Lockheed Martin announced the assembly of the 1,000th piece. However, the F-22 and F-35 are destined for completely different roles. While the Raptor is designed for air superiority and air combat, the Lightning II can also be used for lightning-fast ground-to-air strikes. This, among other things, quickly made the F-35 the most popular export fighter. International participation, in general, has been a key aspect of the Joint Strike Fighter program. Many foreign partners have shown an active interest in the American Lightning II, seeking to modernize their air force by replacing the fleet with the latest stealth aircraft from Lockheed Martin. According to the Lockheed team, the mission system software, especially for sensor synthesis, has become one of the main problems of the fighter program and the cause of its significant delays. The F-35 was designed from the ground up with improved processors, sensors, and software to form a digital hub of America's advanced air platforms. And the updated Block 3F software contained 8.6 million lines of code. An equally important component of the F-35's success was its stealth, achieved by keeping the radar cross-section, or RCS, to a minimum by leveling the edges, serrated skin panels, and masking the surface of the engine and turbine. Of course, the creators have taken into account the experience of the F-22, making the F-35 absorbent fiber matte skin more durable and less demanding to maintain. In order to maintain stealth, Lightning II received 2 internal weapons bays with 4 combat modules. Its arsenal includes air-to-air missiles, JDAM air-to-surface munitions, paveway bombs, Joint Standoff Weapon, or JSOW, cluster munitions, SDV GBU-39, GBU-53B SDV-2, and anti-tank Spear-3 missiles. But most importantly, about 95% of the parts that are replaced in the field are 1 deep. That is, they do not require other aircraft components to be removed just to get to the desired part. Even with its ambitious plans for NGAD, the U.S. intends to ensure that the Lightning II will form the bulk of the manned tactical aviation of the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps for several decades to come. It is also the F-35 that risks becoming the cornerstone of the air forces of NATO and U.S. allies for operation until 2070. The Chinese competitor to the F-22, and sometimes even the F-35, is considered to be the Chengdu J-20, which is the first multi-role stealth fighter in the service of the PRC Air Force. At first glance, the Chinese fighter appears to be slightly larger than the F-22 and F-35 due to its dual-wing configuration, the so-called canard pattern, used to optimize airflow and achieve improved aerodynamic performance. But despite the differences in the form of the wings, the fuselage of the J-20 is too much like the fuselage of the F-22, with 2 engine exhausts and a blended curved or rounded main body exterior. Regardless of the J-20's speed, a key advantage of the F-22 is that it can not only reach supercruise speed, but also maintain it without the need for afterburners, which is a major technical improvement. But will even the latest WS-15 engine, developed by Chinese specialists, be able to endow a Chinese fighter with the same properties? The last time a potential competitor to the F-22 Pratt & Whitney F-19 engine was mentioned was in March of 2022, when Chinese state media announced the tests of the WS-15 and its significantly improved performance, albeit without any details. Speaking in dry numbers, the number of 5th-generation fighters built by China, according to various sources, ranges from 150 to more than 200 units. While the United States has a fleet of 187 operational F-22 Raptor and 450 F-35 Lightning II in various modifications. Fighters, by the way, are not the only stealth aircraft within the arsenal of the U.S. and Chinese Air Force. Equally noteworthy are Northrop Grumman's legendary B-2 Spirit heavy bomber, which gave the very word stealth a visual reinforcement in the form of a stylish black Delta flying wing, and the B-21 Raider, which is preparing to complement the air power of the U.S. Air Force for the coming decades. If you put these 2 stealth bombers side by side, you might get the feeling that the B-21 is some kind of remake or rethinking of a popular model, as is the case with cars. However, in reality, things are a little more complicated. The new Raider will be smaller than its ancestor, having only half the B-2's 60,000-pound capacity with a wingspan 15 to 20% shorter than the Spirit's 172-foot wing. But smaller dimensions will give the B-21 a significant advantage in stealth and range. Having the payload can make the bomber much thinner, while still being able to carry enough fuel on board for long-range performance. It's also funny that the Spirit didn't immediately get its impressive carrying capacity. Its original configuration allowed it to deploy 16 GAM or JDAM, but after the 2004 upgrade program, this increased to 80 JDAM. A similar fate may overtake its successor, Raider, which is being developed according to the principle of modularity in order to be the first to receive the latest weapons and software, some of which is only at the stage of concept formation by teams of leading U.S. military-industrial companies. This means that the B-21 will be able to easily adapt to new systems that will be developed in the coming decades. Whether it be hypersonic weapons, lasers, or enhanced electronic warfare capabilities. All this will be organically fit into this small black triangle of death. The PRC, meanwhile, is actively preparing for its first flight with its Xi'an H-20 stealth bomber, whose main threat to the United States is its working distance. So far, the reported range of the Chinese aircraft is about 5,280 miles, while the B-2 Spirit can easily cover more than 6,900 miles without refueling. However, if China can improve this feature of the H-20, it can not only endanger the Philippines, Japan, and the South China Sea, but also threaten Guam. In addition to fighters and bombers, the U.S. Air Force and China also compete in the field of combat drones. Here we recall the American MQ-9 Reaper and the Chinese CH-4 of the Rainbow family. Externally, the Chinese drone looks almost identical to the American Reaper from General Atomics, which has led to multiple accusations against China of stealing technology and espionage, as has previously happened with the technology of American F-22 and F-35 fighters. The only visual difference to the CH-4 version is the absence of the ventral fin below the V-tail found on the US MQ-9. And although the wingspan of these drones differ slightly, the maximum takeoff weight of the Reaper is 3.6 times the CH-4 at 10,494 pounds versus 2,900 pounds. And the payload of the Chinese rival is about 760 pounds versus 3,800 pounds for the Reaper. Of these, 800 pounds fall on the internal UAV compartment and another 3,000 pounds on the outside. The limited height ceiling of the CH-4 makes it more vulnerable to anti-aircraft guns, unlike the MQ-9. Although, according to some reports, this problem will be addressed in future versions of the series, upgrading the CH-5 models and newer versions of Chinese UAVs. But the main problem for the PRC is probably a less impressive range of weapons than the Reaper, equipped with 4 AGM-114 Hellfire air-to-ground missiles, or 4 Hellfire missiles, and 2 GBU-12 Peihui-2 500-pound bombs with laser guidance, as well as GBU-38 JDAM ammunition, Brimstone missiles, or AIM-9X Block 2. The Reaper was repeatedly used by the U.S. Air Force to eliminate the leaders of the Quds Force of Iran, the Popular Mobilization Forces of Iraq, and members of ISIS, while the CH-4 and its more modern incarnation, CH-5, took part in only search and rescue operations in China. Therefore, it's not yet necessary to talk about their direct confrontation, but the MQ family is looking a bit more threatening. What cool aircraft from the American or Chinese Air Forces do you know? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell for more content like today's. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.